Welcome to the Grid League podcast, where we tell the stories of the players and teams in the Florida Grid League. All right, everybody, welcome to the Grid League podcast. I'm your host, Nick Habich, and we're here with Anthony Fuhrman and Kristen Bonitto from the awesome SWFL Florida Sharks. How you guys doing?
Hey, good. So happy to be here.
Yeah, this is dope. I mean, I couldn't be happier to represent a better team. So, I'm a little biased, but I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, I'm also pretty biased. I think this is about time we finally get a Sharks podcast on the Grid League podcast. That makes me very happy.
Hell yeah.
A lot of interesting people in the Sharks. You could probably have a nice series on it.
That's a damn fact, man. We got a bunch of personalities. Guys, for anyone who doesn't know, Anthony and Kristen are both rookies. They're brand new to the Florida Grid League and to the Sharks, which is awesome. And what's real fun about them too is neither of them live in Florida, right? So Kristen, where do you live?
I am in New Bern, North Carolina. So it's Eastern North Carolina, about 10 hours away.
And Anthony, where are you?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. So you guys are representing the Florida Grid League really well. We appreciate that.
Yeah, good. I've been talking about it to everybody. Like, I'm sorry you can't join. You're from Nashville. Sorry.
And the two of you have a pretty interesting background, right? Because like a lot of the people that are in the Grid League are either CrossFit background or they're maybe like Olympic weightlifting. But what's your background?
Well, so mine essentially, kind of common story. Football, growing up, and then I joined the Army, and then I found strongman. And that's where, as my adulthood, that's where I really focused my kind of sports energies. And so I got a background in strongman, a little bit of powerlifting, a little bit of like Highland game type stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, Kristen, what about you?
So I actually did start with CrossFit. I never worked out. I think I maybe sort of played sports because my parents made me growing up. So I actually started with CrossFit because I saw the CrossFit Games. So I wasn't for the, there to work out and be fit. I was like, oh, I want to like do this and be competitive. I'm very big, so I'm not very good at CrossFit. So my coach actually showed me strongman, and I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But he finally got me to do it. And he did the competition with me, and I think he almost died. And then I won. I think that's maybe where I met Anthony. So I actually won North Carolina's Strongest Woman. And then I went on to do the strongman games and all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of have been all over the place. I just love doing like kind of weird things. I actually met up with Anthony again, lifting rocks in Ohio. And then,
yeah, it's kind of crazy how that happened. Like we met in the strongman in North Carolina, and then again, a few years later in Columbus, Ohio, throwing rocks around.
Yeah. So right. A field at like an Irish festival. And then most recently I've been doing Olympic weightlifting. I did get into doing strongman. So I've gone to Olympic lifting, which isn't so bad on the body. And then I still dabble in kind of like strongman X things. So I do the Rogue Record Breakers. I've done that for the past, I think 3 years. And here I am doing Grid now, which is pretty cool. It's nice to be back in like the team end of competitive stuff.
That's super nice. That's like the best part of this, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's having the team, right? Remember, I talked to both of you on the phone. And I said, like, this is very much a team sport, right? It's very little individual, even though you're working on your own. Like, there's tons of relying on each other, using the morale of the others to boost you up, right? Like, was I wrong about that?
No, I think you were. I mean, I couldn't comprehend how lifting weights could be a team sport. Even though I watched the matches and like we talked about it, I still didn't fully get it until like I was immersed in it, and it was like, oh shit, okay, I get it.
So I talked to like other team owners in the league, and they were like, you signed strongmen, like strongman athletes. I'm like, yeah, I think it's gonna pay off quite a bit. And there's a whole lot of like poo-pooing, like they can't put their arms over their head, that kind of stuff.
They're not wrong.
Well, it didn't stop you in the stats ladder, so that's okay. All right, so you're both rookies, right? This was your first experience with the match. And I mean, honestly, it was our first, you two have met each other, but you and I met each other, Kristen the night before and Anthony the day of, right?
Yeah.
What was that like, man? Like what convinced you guys like, yo, I'll trust this dude on the phone. I'll fly to Florida and I'll play this sport?
I don't think
You go first, Kristen.
I don't think I had anything like better to do. I didn't really have like 2 weeks prior, like decided I wasn't doing strongman anymore. And then I got a message from Fico and he was like, "Hey, sorry if I'm weird, but do you want to?" I was like, yeah, okay. I think it was like 1 a.m. And then, yeah, no, I got on the phone call and I was like, these guys seem fine. I'm sure I'll just travel to Florida and compete with them. This seems legit.
And then Anthony, how did somebody convince you?
Oh, well, Kristen texted me saying, like, hey, I'm on the Grid League. Have you heard of it? And I knew of the Grid League. I think when I lived in Tampa from like 15 to 18 or 19, I think it was like, it was just Grid League back then. It wasn't like, from what I remember. And I trained out of CrossFit gym. So I was aware of it. And, she told me about it. I'm just like, I was like one of the other owners. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I can't do this. I'm a strong man. Like, I can't do any of this. But then when we had our talk, you kind of explained the things. And, for me, it wasn't as much as a trust thing initially as it was, I spent the past few years promoting major contests and I haven't been competing. And, once competitor, always competitor. And it gave me an avenue to kind of compete. And I kind of jumped at that.
Yeah, I mean, and full disclosure, guys, you were both amazing in your first match. I mean, like, there's a reason the two of you have been all over social media for the last couple of days. You did amazing. I know we talked about this beforehand. Fico, who Kristen was talking about, is Francisco Gomez. He's our team captain. He's I don't know what to call him at this point. He was a strength specialist when we signed him. Now he's like the 7th strongest dude on the team, but he's still really strong and he can do everything else. So I don't know what his position is. He plays everything.
Is that utility? That's what you guys call it?
Yeah, I guess we're going to call him utility now. It's crazy to think that. I can't wait till he hears this. It's going to make him so happy to hear this. But I guess we'll call him a utility player now. I mean, hell, at this point, he might be a bodyweight specialist. Who knows? But we were like super amped up because we've never had out-of-town players, and everybody who's followed the league for a couple of years has known the Sharks are usually a very, very good team with not great talent, awesome people.
Yeah.
But our players have always played their absolute asses off, but there's been a lot of overperforming for many years,
Yeah.
And we had a feeling, based on the team we put together that wasn't going to be the case this year. And that first match, I think that put a bunch of people on their heels.
Yeah. I was a product of a football program in Northwest Pennsylvania that was D1 prospects every year and going to the States every year. It felt like back then we would just, I don't want to say blow through people, but we had the lead and we didn't give up the lead. It was a very good feeling. And I hadn't felt that in years. Yeah.
It's a cool feeling. It doesn't, I was telling you too, that doesn't happen very often. It's rare that
I can see it. Like those points switch like that. You could have a 5-point lead and two matches later or 2 events later, it's gone. It's intense.
That's absolutely true. And we've been part of that. We've actually been on the other side of that before. We've been 5 or 6 or 7 points behind and then come back to tie the game at the end. And that's the most intense feeling in the world.
It's a very good setup, like in general. Like it encourages max effort all the time. I love it.
Yeah. So Kristen, you played a lot in this first match, right? And I warned you were going to be playing a lot, and I don't think I lied, right?
No, you definitely did not lie. I think more than we both thought I would when the flip sled came up. So I was like, okay, great.
So you were in partner forward, you were in mirror, you were in both echoes, you were in ladder, you were in the ringer, and you were in triad. So you did literally almost the entire match.
Yes. I didn't do as much in triad as we anticipated, but that's okay. It was definitely a very, I guess, eye-opening experience. I've never experienced a competition that went from beginning to end in like 90 minutes. So I think it was definitely eye-opening. And there was no way to prepare for that. But I mean, luckily, like you said, you guys have just been a team and you guys work out together. So you guys know each other really well, which I think is really cool. And then you guys really have that really good like coach and teamwork atmosphere. So even though you guys didn't have like the high end strength specialists or whatever going into last year, like I think
you guys made it easy for us to step in. Like we were able just to step in, and because of your guys' chemistry and teammates, it was just like no fuss.
Yeah, so I didn't feel completely lost because I just had someone like grabbing me and pushing me everywhere I needed to go. Yeah. It was like as seamless a transition as it could have been, like brand new players coming in. having never seen a match or done anything like this, me going like basically the whole thing, like beginning to end with like every other race. I think that it went probably as good as it possibly could have been because you guys were like so prepared. And got us like prepared as much as we could, even like not actually being ever out of practice. So
yeah, they're like the fact that you were in the whole match, it's hard to explain because rookies generally don't do that, you know. And not only were you in the whole match, but you played pivotal roles in each one of the races, which is a big deal, you know. Anthony, when you didn't play quite as much, but you had very eventful moments, right?
Yeah, I mean, like again, I didn't fully understand. You know, we talked about it a bunch before, and like I didn't fully understand like my role. Like I knew I was going to be lifting. I didn't know fully get when and where. And I'm not, you know, we talked about like through the first half, I was kind of like, oh man, I'm not doing anything. And everyone's out there, they're breathing so hard, and like I felt terrible. I felt like a bad teammate because I wasn't doing anything. So when I got my 30 or 20 or 30 seconds to perform, I was going to make sure that I, you know, was able to contribute. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want to come all this way and then fail in a way that people thought I would fail for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, your moments, Anthony, were amazing. The farmer carry in the sprint relay, right?
Yeah.
The league, there's a big social media post the league put out last year about me in that same race, in that farmer carry. And it was like one of the quicker opportunities anyone's done on the farmer carry. And it got a whole lot of following. I think you like cut my time in half.
I mean, again, it's this wheelhouse type thing. And just comparatively, that weight isn't necessarily something that would challenge me in the strawman world. So
yeah.
It's kind of, and I had a cortisone shot in my bad knee a few weeks ago, so I was still feeling decent on it.
I think the biggest moment of the match probably, and the one that like I had to go warn the refs about was when you came out for the ladder. And for anyone listening who doesn't know how all the races work, ladder is we get a couple minutes to get as many of our 10 players through as possible. Each guy and girl gets an attempt at 4 different bars, and those bars go up in weight. I would say generally people who clear the ladder. Kristen, you were pretty fast. What did you take? Probably about a minute. This episode is brought to you by Punch Gunk. Punch Gunk is a pain relief and anti-inflammatory rub. You put it on your muscles, your joints. You're going to feel a whole lot better if you use it. I know that a couple weeks ago, my back was killing me from a deadlift workout. Couldn't bend over without strong discomfort. One of the players convinced me to use some, rubbed it on my back. About 15 minutes later, I was doing muscle ups and snatches with no pain at all. I absolutely could not believe it, but it's true. They're a supporter of the podcast now. If you want to try it out, go to punchgunk.com. Use code SHARKS10. You'll get a discount. This stuff is amazing. It's all over my gym now. The Southwest Florida Sharks and the Florida Grid League use it. Big supporter of it now. Check it out at punchgunk.com. Use code SHARKS10 for a discount. 50 seconds?
No, I think I want to say 30 seconds. That's pretty quick.
Okay, see, then you're not a normal person. But for the rest of the people who clear the ladder, it might take like 45 to 50 seconds. And then you went out and went from 195 to 255 in 20 seconds?
Yeah. We talked about before, I knew my target was under 30.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't fully understand until I saw it. So when I went, I think second on our team for the males. So I got to see 2 people go, and I noticed they weren't like running. So that's when like that extra gear kicked in. Like, oh, I can really make some time up. Like if this is the pace people are setting, I can really save some time. So that's why I just like, you ever see Old School where he's at this podium and he blacks out and gives a wonderful speech, and that's kind of like how it is with me. Like.
Yeah, you went out and you muscle snatched 255, and I watched half the audience stare in silence as they were trying to figure out what just happened, and the other half go crazy because they realized what happened. That was fantastic.
It was cool. The crowd was a lot of fun to interact with that. Like it really got me going too. That was, yeah.
What was super fun too is, and I really hope if you look up the video on the Florida Grid League's social media, is your tippy taps at the end. Your little tippy tap dance afterwards.
So like I usually stuff like that I play the crowd, but like there's still people going, so I can't like start running around the arena. So I had to just quickly. It was either that or finger guns. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like, so I don't know if I've told you guys this yet. ladder is something that generally the Sharks are not great at, right? Like our top level strength hasn't really been there, right? And and this is not just attuned to our team, but to any team, lots of what people post on social media doesn't exactly translate to the grid. Lots of people can one rep max 265 on snatch, but you put them out there for the match, and then all of a sudden they're failing bar 3 and bar 4.
Yeah.
That's super common. And somebody, I think Val, was like, "Hey, why don't you throw the bonus flag on the ladder?" And I was like, "Fuck no!" Like, I've watched this happen so many times. There's no chance. And then I think we had 6 or 7 people clear the ladder.
There was a lot. Like it just kept happening. It just kept coming. That was pretty cool.
I've never seen that before. I've been with the Florida Grid League since our inception. I've never seen that before. So like I said, you guys are rookies. You don't have great context for like how badass that was. I was watching it. I was like, another one. Like,
I mean,
boom.
The way you described it, like I thought it was gonna be tougher, and then after me, everyone started making them. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I think you put a shot of adrenaline into everybody, and then when you did that, and everybody was like, well, I guess that guy didn't even bend over. I guess I have to now.
That's where you save your time, is by not having to set up.
Yeah. Kristen, so talk to me about the triad race, with the kettlebell front squats. How was that?
Okay. So that was probably, I think the flip sled, I went over you and I was like, I can snatch this. I cannot clean and jerk this barbell so I can get through the rest of this. But once we got to the kettlebells, and I have very good mobility. My front squat's over 325 or something right now. And those absolutely buried me. The 50 kettlebells absolutely buried. So it does not matter how strong you are. I learned, because they went fine. I ran that race in practice, but actually going out there after everything else,
yeah,
I'm amazed at the people the smaller girls on our team that got through that. I'm just I think it was, I was like, Heather, I was supposed to relieve her on her kettlebells. I'm like, she's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm not coming. I'm so sorry.
Well, we come from sports that it takes 8 hours to do 5 events sometimes.
Yeah.
So the max effort, max little strength stays the whole 8 hours. Whereas, in this, where it's fast paced, it dwindles a little bit as longer you go. But, your max strength kind of starts dipping down no matter what you do, because you're just moving the whole time like a real sport.
Yeah, we had that really funny situation in the men's triad where all the guys got pretty blown up as well, on those kettlebell front squats. So I go out there, I finish the ring muscle ups up. I was not supposed to do any deadlifts. I realized that I'm the only person on the floor, so I guess I'm going to do deadlifts. I get over there and I do a couple, and I'm like, somebody will come save me at some point. I look around, there's nobody coming to save me. The only person I see at the start line is Anthony. He's like a bull. He's like bucking. He's kicking the ground. He's like, me. I look at him. I'm like, no, you're not in the match. I can't
understand the rules. And I was like, I could do all of their deadlifts right now. Just let me run down there.
Yeah. We do not know the rules yet. We're still like the time Anthony's like, I can help. Let me help. And you're like, you cannot. And he's like, I can though. We just want to help.
Kristen, what was your so partner forward is the first race, right? And
yes.
We try not to put rookies in that race because it's so confusing.
Yes.
You ended up running our third and our fourth quadrant, which is the most tense portion of that race, right? Because it always comes down to the women in the fourth quadrant. What was that like for you?
That was actually, I was only worried about falling on the box jumps because it had little 2x4s under it. And I'm a big lady, so I like reinforcement. But I actually really enjoyed that. I like anything dumbbells. I have good overhead mobility, and that's not heavy for me. Our circus dumbbells, I do 150 or 135 to 150. So I would have been comfortable doing the men's weights, not the men's heights, but it was definitely helpful to have you grab me and pull me and push me. And going back and watching it, I can definitely see where how you can lose that race so fast because it's down to a second. All you have to do is fumble on one of the dumbbells, and even though you're behind on box jumps, we could blow the other team away and get it was just so fast. I think I just stood there and I was like, I don't know. You just like moved me and I just had no idea what was going on. Like jump now, dumbbells now. But I actually really enjoyed that race, and I think that was one of my favorites. I think besides the flip sled, I think that one was favorite.
Partner forward, right? Like you said, if somebody fumbles a dumbbell a little bit, you can make up reps so fast. I mean, in that race, I think we got 3 faults, right?
Yeah.
And even with 3 faults, we lost by what, a second and a half?
Yeah. So close. I think I was like 1 burpee behind once we actually.
Right. And that's why I love partner forward, because like, you know, we executed how well we prepared for that. And we did not prepare very well for that race, right? Like I think we deserved to lose the race. We lost it on like stupid, just not thinking errors, you know? Nobody tripped and fell over. It was just like not following the rules, you know, that's how it goes. But like, I love partner forward because generally that's not something we do. And I love watching the chess match of like, and like the intensity kind of rise as we get closer to the 3rd quadrant and the 4th quadrant. I love that.
The hype is my favorite part about all this. Like, just because luckily I got to watch most of the match. Like, I got to actually get the full like experience like on the floor. Is really cool.
Yeah, I never really get that. So I remember talking to Katie. She's our COO at my gyms at Shark Bite. And I was like, yo, was it a good experience? Like, I can't tell when I'm out there. I'm at 100 intensity the whole time. I don't know. And she was like, yes, man, it was really good. So what about that flip side? So one of the things we have in the grid league, we started last year, is the ringer point, right? The ringer point is basically where we send out like 1 gladiator per team, and they go with a movement, and we pick our best one, you pick your best one, we put them head to head. Now this match, we picked the handstand walk with Valerie Gunning, you know, one of our amazing players. I don't know what to call her either.
She blew my mind when I didn't understand. Again, I knew you picked her and all that, but I didn't understand why. And then she walked on her hands literally faster than I can walk on my feet. Like I would have to jog to keep up with her. So
I literally had to. I was next to her. I had to jog to keep up with her. We picked her, and she beat the male on the team for the breakers, which was doubly impressive, right? And then, man, Kristen, I texted you the night before. I was like, they picked the flip sled. Oh my God, they picked the flip sled. I just remember thinking one of you two is going to throw that thing down there one-handed. What were your thoughts when I told you, Kristen, like, okay, hey, guess what? Your first match, you're doing all this other work. You're going to do the ringer point too. What'd you think?
I had no idea what was going on. Like, I didn't know what a ringer point meant. So I was like, okay. Like, good. But I mean, like, it was 200 pounds. Like, that's not, in the world of strongman, that's not heavy at all. Like, so I knew that it was just going to come down to, like, I'd never touched one until I think I maybe did like 1 or 2 flips. But I mean, like, once I flipped it and got it, I was like, okay, I can go and I can go fast. So I just need to like not fall and not like, just make sure it went straight. Cause I know at strongman, we do have like tires and we do have like apparatuses that we flip. Nothing is ever the same. It's always like stuff made in a backyard. So it was really nice to have an actual piece of equipment. So yeah, I was really, really excited especially when I got paired up with the male strength athlete. I was like, all right, I like competing against the guys. I think that's a really cool part about grid.
Yeah, seriously, that's one of our favorite parts. Like everybody who runs the league, it's just so much fun because in most sports, I think there's like this misconception, like the men are stronger than the women or they're faster or whatever, right? And regularly in grid, women beat men. Like both of our ringer points, you guys didn't just win, you won by so much that we got 2 points and they got 0 points. Like that's a big part of why our score was what it was.
That's now that I understand it, it's huge.
Yeah, right. We're gonna keep a rule book next to you at all times, Anthony. All right, so let's compare this a little bit. Maybe compare and contrast a little bit to like some of your strongman events you guys have done too. Because like Anthony, you run strongman events, right?
Yeah. So I run. It's called Clash on the Coast. It's a Clash Strongman series. It's a little different. It's strongman, but I like to say it's strongman with like a modern take on performance. So we've condensed it. We do the 5 events in 2 hours. We did it live on ESPN within a 2-hour window. It was the first time it was ever done. I mean, these guys. She was talking about how she was feeling at the end of this. I mean, those guys were starting with a 675-pound deadlift and ending with a 350-pound stone for reps. Like, so they got no break. So it's funny because that was even before I knew about Grid League. I was almost kind of transformed strongman into more of that style where it's more constant action, which is pretty cool. And then I come and see how you guys have almost perfected it already. It's like, whoa, all right. But yeah, to me, it's more intense for longer, right? In a strongman competition over 8 hours, you're going to have maybe 30 total minutes of intense moments. And that's across the board because it's quick, it's fast. We have 60-second events, max rep. But this is just the way that you have to manage your intensity. You have to manage your warm-ups. You have to manage. It really feels like you're an athlete instead of in a beer league softball.
Yeah, that right there, right? Like you said, the fact that it feels like you're like an athlete, like because, for example, the match started and you didn't play for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I had to be out there to support, but also take care of myself and head back and warm up a little bit. And I do that because I consider myself a professional athlete, and that's what I loved about it. Is it was on me. You weren't holding my hand and was making me do things. Like I'm here to do my job, and I did it. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I do too, right? Because like we'll run into an experience, and I'm sure this isn't just solo to our team, but like especially say CrossFitters or competitive CrossFitters. Oh, I'm sure their events are a little bit more like strongman, where you're doing an event, you're taking a very long break. Yeah. Do an event, take a very long break. So they're used to going up and then hanging out for a while and calming down. If you're playing a football game or a basketball game, you can't do that. The game starts. You can be called at any moment, Callie Beck on our team, another one of our rookies. She didn't do anything until sprint relay. Could have been very easily for her to mentally turn off. I said, hey, I need you to warm up these 3 things right now. Go. I didn't see her again for 10 more minutes. She came out ready to go,
Yeah, that was really beautiful. Again, that just speaks to the level of athletes we have on the team. Whether they have experience or not, they're still mentally there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's fair to say we either have the most or second most rookies in the league right now, which is pretty cool, especially considering we're a relatively experienced team. We kept our core and we brought in a ton of new talent. Kristen, what does this compare to like for some of your strongman events? Let's compare and contrast like how you felt, what the experience was like.
So for this, I think this is definitely more like I felt like I was more doing like a sport. I think it's definitely more of a spectator sport. And it was like I thought this was like so much more fun. And the big difference with grid is like obviously it's a team, and like there is like camaraderie in strongman, but like when you're competing, especially like when you're competing at like the highest levels, like I have, and especially like stuff Anthony has done. Like you don't talk to other competitors when you're competing. Like you have, even like your friends, like because you're in such a competitive like mindset, and like it's all on you. You know what I mean? So I think that's like the biggest difference with grid. Like if like I can't do something, like I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go try. Like I'm gonna be like, hey, like Nick, someone's gonna be so much faster at this than me. I think said no, you're good, but I mean like at least I like said something. But I mean like it's just I think that this is just like so much more fun. And like I did do CrossFit like as like partners. I always did teams and always did partners, so I think that this was so much more fun because you actually like relying on your teammates and actually having like that community again was really cool. And I think that's what I missed the most like when I went over to strongman. Individual sports are like they're lonely. They just are like training by your
one thing I liked about this, you talked about the CrossFit teams versus like this team. You have the floor when you're out there. You're not lost in a sea of people like a CrossFit competition would be, or strongman competition with a lot of strongman be. Like even though you're out there with your team, all eyes are on you. Like you feel like you're out there and that's really cool because you get the team aspect, but also the individual kind of feeling of I'm accomplishing something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Also, to correct her, top level strongman a lot of times talk in competitions. I was going to say I have a tattoo of Muhammad Ali on me, so it's not like I'm quiet to my competition.
Well, have you not so much the females? Have you ever been in the back room with like Hannah?
Yeah, that's a little different situation. Yeah, a little more intense.
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the like honestly, grid competing has like ruined CrossFit competing for me. It's like
yeah.
I'll do like local comps because a bunch of my friends who are gym owners will run competitions and I want to go support them. And I like competing, but like the experience literally can't ever compare again. Like that thing you're talking about, Anthony, being in the back room of a big comp and having nobody speaking to each other. I'm like, man, like, what are we doing here, bro? Like,
no, I mean, like, again, it's I didn't see that. I saw that about halfway through the match, but I get why. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
there was a little tenseness at that point.
It got a little tense there, but like, yeah, it was really cool. Everyone was so nice, and it's just, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and then like you said, just like the intensity of the competition, like it's real hard to go back to doing 20-minute AMRAPs, when you're doing like 30 seconds until you almost throw up, and that's it.
I like CrossFit. I've always tried to support it because I think it's a wonderful thing for, on top of health, I think it's a wonderful thing for strength sports in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to pull my eyes out when I try to watch the CrossFit games. I'm not interested in seeing people do single leg thrusters for 40 minutes. I don't know. It's just me. That's why I love the grid, because it's just, you still get that stuff, but it's just like bam, 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 fast competition, go. Like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, we're speaking the same language, man. It's funny because like we'll have really high level CrossFit competitors come over to grid, and they're just not very good,
Yeah,
because their sport calls for something totally different,
Yeah.
In the same way that I would bet most strongmen, strongwomen, honestly, you guys are anomalies. I would bet most strongmen, strongwomen couldn't do multiple races in a match without passing out, right?
It would be tough for the heaviers. I can say with the emergence of my weight class, you're going to see a lot of guys, especially after this season. I think I'm already getting guys like, what is that? What are you doing? That looks fun. But the weight class strongman, you'd be surprised at how agile. I mean, there was a point where I was doing a standing 54-inch box jump when I was deadlifting 800 pounds. So like, you get a lot of guys that were former athletes, that into the strongman in our weight class type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're talking about like the Brian Shaws and Eddie Halls and stuff, I mean, it's going to be tough to get them to move from a chair to standing 2 times in an hour.
All right, guys. So we're currently standing at 1-0, right? We took a pretty big margin of victory in that first match. Our next match is against the Orlando Aces, right? Taylor Stallings' team. They took a pretty big margin of victory against the new team, the Daytona Beach Venom. Yeah. So we're going, 1-0 each into a head-to-head match next week, and like the winner of that is probably on top of the conference, right?
Yeah, in the driver's seat. We control our destiny if we win next week.
Yeah, exactly. What are your guys' thoughts going into that match?
Dude, I'm ready. I'm stoked. Like, I love like anything. Like these are like my bread and butter movements. Last week or whatever, I had like no clue. I was just winging it. But like, I mean, this week, these are my favorite movements. So, I mean, I'm ready. And I think our team is like really like, these are good movements for all of our people. So bring it on, Aces.
Yeah, I would just say that I don't know people that well yet. So I'm not going to give you the full me. I'm just going to say, I hope that I can come in my role, and what you put me in, that could be the tipping point, to really turn the page for the team.
I think it will be. Cool, guys.
Also,
is there anything else?
Aces, I'm finishing that ladder pretty easily, so you better have people. I say that I'm definitely not going to finish it now.
I might not reverse curl it, but I'm pretty sure I think that they have some good lifters on their team.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want it to be like back. Everyone finish it. Boom, boom, boom. Just like.
See, I don't run into that problem. I just go to the second bar and I stop, and it's fantastic. I don't have to do all the shit you guys do.
I looked at that event on paper and I was like, oh, that's not bad. Then I realized it was 3 reps per bar essentially. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's going to be good.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, we got our match in a week. I'll be seeing you guys real soon. I'm hyped. I hope you guys are too.
I'm excited. I'm just excited to be part of this league in general. So thank you for everyone for accepting me from the strongman world.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. So I'll throw your contact information in the show notes. Anthony, Kristen, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast with me. I'm certain we'll get you on again before the season's over.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you want to find out more about the Grid League, you can find us on social media at FL Grid League or on the internet at www.thefgl.com. If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Nick Habich. See you soon.